Welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano, and thank you so much for joining me here on yet another edition of the Midweek Blitz.
Kansas City continuing to hit their stride.
No doubt. As Rice makes the catch for the touchdown.
The Midweek Blitz is where we break down everything Kansas City Chiefs, and we get you ready for the upcoming game, and this one is huge. The Chiefs are going to Buffalo to play the Buffalo Bills. It's a battle of two incredibly impressive AFC teams that are absolutely 100% contenders. And I don't think there's any kind of argument to the contrary of that unless it's somebody like Ryan Clark who's just talking out of his backside. I heard him say that even if the Bills beat the Chiefs, they're not a real contender. Ryan Clark just says stuff. Never listen to anything Ryan Clark ever says with any absolute level of even one iota. Not even one iota of credibility to anything Ryan Clark says, because everything he says makes my skin crawl because he's so inauthentic. You know, people who are clearly just chasing clicks and they have no actual authenticity to anything that they say, and they're clearly just trying to create headlines so they can keep their job. Ryan Clark is the poster child for these people. So don't listen to anything Ryan Clark has to say. Absolutely, the Bills are a contender, and the Chiefs need to be firing on all cylinders to beat the Buffalo Bills. So let's dive in. We got a lot to get to, including one big question about Buffalo that Patrick Mahomes had to answer, and we'll get to that here in just a second. But we got to start here.
Over there from the 11, first down. Pass worthy, touchdown. Touchdown, Kansas City.
Bills fans hate the Chiefs because Bills fans are jealous of the Chiefs. Imagine going to 4 straight Super Bowls and losing all 4 of them. The psychological trauma that Bills fans have been through is so incredibly devastating that their only course of action is to say, I hate the Chiefs, and I'm going to come up with 100 reasons why, like the referees, I don't like Patrick Mahomes, I don't like Travis Kelce, I don't like Taylor Swift. They'll come up with 100 reasons other than the truth, because the absolute truth is Bills fans hate the Chiefs because they're jealous. And that's understandable. This is why they jump through flaming tables, guys. It's not because it's fun. It's because they're going through pain. And they need something to take that pain out, that 0 Super Bowl pain. So the jealousy that oozes from Buffalo Bills fans will be raining down on the Chiefs this Sunday in Buffalo, where Patrick Mahomes and the boys are going to have to overcome the intensity of that crowd. And it will be intense. Make no mistake, Buffalo Bills fans seem like, for the most part, nice people. I think there's a-holes in every fan base. But in the end, when that Sunday comes, I got a lot of Bills fan friends. I got a lot of friends that are Bills fans. We're not friends on Sunday. They're the enemy that day. That's the way this goes. I'll respect the Bills next week. But for now, it's time to go get the Bills. Now, there's one narrative that gets thrown at me a lot about the Chiefs, and it needs to be addressed. We'll get to that in a few minutes, but we have to continue on this Bills track here because the Chiefs aren't scared of going to Buffalo. They feed off the hatred. They feed off the crowd hating them, off everybody doubting them. You know, back in 2018 and 2019 when everybody loved the Chiefs, if you're a Chiefs fan, you'll remember this. There was a big groundswell of support for the Chiefs when they won their first Super Bowl. First Super Bowl in 50 years, first Super Bowl appearance for 50 years for the franchise. Andy Reid's first Super Bowl victory after all these years of being a great NFL head coach. Everyone was on the Chiefs side back in 2018 and 19. But once everyone started to really hate the Chiefs, and that came right around the first Super Bowl win against the Eagles. So the second Super Bowl for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, suddenly people started to really turn on the Chiefs. But that's when we saw the Chiefs become a much stronger team. They feed off that hatred. They feed off people wanting them to fail. It only makes them play better. It only makes Patrick Mahomes focus in and become the monster that he truly is because he feeds off of all the boos. If you remember, The playoff run to get to the Super Bowl where they beat the 49ers in 2023 season. So the second Super Bowl against the 49ers. Do you remember that playoff run? First, the Chiefs had the Dolphins at home, coldest game ever, and the Dolphins never stood a chance. But then they had to go to Buffalo and to Baltimore. And they fed off of that hatred. They fed off of that negative energy, and it made it very apparent that the Kansas City Chiefs are a team that feeds off of the hatred of other fan bases. They go into these other buildings, and as good as they are at Arrowhead, they're just as good on the road because they can feed off the positivity at Arrowhead, and they come together to feed off the negativity on the road. So please, Buffalo, bring your hatred to Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the rest of the boys on the Kansas City Chiefs because it does nothing but make them stronger, because that is how a team that's at the upper echelon retaliates to hatred. They just get better. Now, on that, Patrick Mahomes talked about having to play in Buffalo and, of course, the fans that will be very loud during that game. Here he is at his press conference via Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Going into a hostile environment like that, what type of mentality do you have to have on that field?
I think it's cool, honestly, just because you have to bond together as a team. And I mean, you do that at Arrowhead, and you kind of have the crowd behind you. And whenever stuff isn't going well, you can kind of feed off the crowd and stuff like that. Whereas when you're on the road, you just have your teammates. You have your teammates and your coaches, and you kind of have to bond together. And there's going to be adversity, and it's how you can bond together and come out on the other side of that and come out on the right way with the win.
Love them or hate them, and this week we hate them. Bills fans are going to be loud. They're going to create a hostile environment for Patrick Mahomes and those boys. But as Patrick said, that's something you kind of look forward to as a player. And I think for the Kansas City Chiefs, especially after last year, going through the whole season as everybody's Super Bowl is incredibly difficult. And that's what the Kansas City Chiefs had to do last year. Every environment they went into, that was a hostile environment. Everybody geared up for the Chiefs. They were attempting a three-peat. Well, they're used to it now. That energy from last year was so incredibly intense. I don't think we'll ever see anything quite like that ever again, where every team gives the Chiefs their best shot and every game's close. Every player on the Chiefs team this week, and there's plenty of clips of it, but we won't show those clips. Today we'll hear more from Patrick later. We'll also hear from Andy Reid and from Chris Jones. We got a few great clips for you today. But a lot of the time this week and the last couple of weeks, Chiefs players, including Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, have talked about how much more fun this year is than last year, which makes total sense. Last year was intense, man. Every game is the Super Bowl. Every defense has a new thing they're throwing at you. Everything's really ratcheted up every single game. So you have to deal with that as a player, as a coach, throughout the entire organization. That's incredibly stressful. That's what the Chiefs had to deal with, an extremely stressful situation. And now they're able to have a little of that stress taken off. And when the offense is putting up a bunch of points and you're winning games by multiple scores on a consistent basis, yeah, it's more fun than eking out small wins every week while everybody doubts you. Yeah, going and putting it on a few teams feels really, really nice. And that's what the Kansas City Chiefs have done. It's awesome. So, good stuff there from Patrick. The Chiefs injury report this week makes one thing very clear for the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll tell you what that is coming up here in just a couple of minutes. But first, this is a narrative that I've gotten a lot this week, and it's a little weird. People say I'm too optimistic about the Chiefs. Like, oh, you're really optimistic, or you have rose-colored glasses. I disagree entirely with that sentiment. I understand why people would think I'm too optimistic, but I think those people have let their anxiety consume them so they can't see the bigger picture. And here's what I mean by that. People say I'm too optimistic about a team that's been to the last 3 Super Bowls, about a team that's been in the conference championship game every single year since the 2018 season, a team that has a quarterback playing at a consistent MVP level in 2025. The fact is, I'm not too optimistic about the Kansas City Chiefs. People who say that are too pessimistic about the Kansas City Chiefs, and I understand. We've all been through a lot, man. I've been a Chiefs fan my entire life. I remember going to see preseason games with Steve Bono at quarterback. Like, I have been through that ringer with you. So I understand why you feel like, oh man, you're just too optimistic. This thing can go away at any time. Yeah, it can. And one day it will. And guess what? When it does, you're going to be the person going, man, remember those good times like 2025? Remember going out and shutting out the Raiders 31-0? Man, remember putting it on the Baltimore Ravens and making Lamar Jackson quit the season? Remember, that's what you're going to be doing, man. You're going to be sitting there 10 years from now talking about today like, man, that was awesome. But right now, you're pointing at me and saying you're too optimistic. Brother, this is on you. This is your thing. It was actually a legit dude that told me this not that long, like literally yesterday or something. This is you. This isn't me. It's you. These are the days, guys. The good old days. We're living the good old days as Chiefs fans. And I understand why people are going to be a little bit pessimistic at times because they're projecting their anxieties onto their football team. It's part of what we do as fans. I do the same thing, but I try to keep that in check and understand the absolute fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are currently fighting for their 4th straight trip to the Super Bowl with a quarterback who has the best odds of anyone in the entire NFL to win the MVP. So I don't think there's a world where you could say I'm being too optimistic about the Chiefs or that anyone is being too optimistic about the Chiefs because the Chiefs have earned every last drop of that optimism. So I'm not changing. And I'm going to keep this same energy. Win or lose against Buffalo, I'm keeping the energy. Every time. Even after the Super Bowl last year, kept the same energy, and it will never change. Now, there's big news for the Chiefs this week. Big. We've talked about it a little bit on social media when it happened, but we got to dive in and hear from Chris Jones about this massive news. You might know what it's going to be coming up in just a few minutes. But first, the Chiefs must trade for a running back. Isaiah Pacheco has been ruled out against the Buffalo Bills, and frankly, even before Isaiah Pacheco went down, the need for a running back for the Kansas City Chiefs was always apparent this season because Patrick Mahomes has been the leading rusher for the Chiefs. When your quarterback's the leading rusher for your team, I'm sorry, you don't have a running back. And the Chiefs, with a running back that can take the game over, would be a totally different team. You get Breece Hall in Kansas City, and this team transforms because even if there is a team in the playoffs or a team down the stretch that can stop the Chiefs' passing offense, which right now does not look likely, but it could happen, well, then you have a running back that can take the game over. Right now, the Chiefs don't have a running back, even with the healthy Isaiah Pacheco, who can take the game over. It is a massive hole for this team, and as the trade deadline looms, which is November 4th, we're right there. As this trade deadline looms, the Chiefs have got to go look at a running back. They have got to try to get Breece Hall. They've got to get somebody that can carry the game if needed. Because you have the offensive line to do that. We see it with the short yardage gains from Kareem Hunt. You have the offensive line to get a juggernaut running back, put the game on his shoulders if need be, and let him run people over. Because that's what the Buffalo Bills have in James Cook. And it's a big reason why their offense has been cooking, putting up 40 points last week. That's a huge hole for the Kansas City Chiefs offense right now. And they're able to make up for it. Because they have Patrick Mahomes. They have a stacked wide receiver core. They have Travis Kelce. They have a good offensive line that's playing at a high level most of the time right now. So for all of those reasons, we look at this and say, okay, the Kansas City Chiefs are playing pretty well. Everything's going pretty well. But when the playoffs come, when every team is not only upper echelon, but every team is playing all out, and they're giving you your best game plan, their best shot, sometimes something might happen to slow down that passing offense, and I would feel better if the Chiefs went and got a running back who could take things over, right? I mean, that's not a crazy idea, especially when you consider that other teams are going to make moves at this trade deadline. The Chiefs are not the only team to make moves in the trade deadline, and so if somebody else goes and gets Breece Hall, call it the Chargers, who are looking for a running back. They're in the market for a running back right now. Or R.J. Harvey in Denver, who just had a 3-touchdown game last week, the guy that I wanted the Chiefs to draft out of UCF, but the Broncos actually reached for him a little bit to make sure they get him in as a rookie. 3-touchdown game last week. If the Chargers get Breece Hall and R.J. Harvey develops in Denver, the Chiefs have the worst running back situation in the AFC West. So yes, that's a real concern and something the Chiefs have to definitely address. And a lot of people say they shouldn't. A lot of people think I'm overreacting, but I'm trying to look ahead because it's not like the Chiefs are the only ones that can make a trade. Other teams are going to trade and they're going to get better. The Chiefs have to continue to stay in lockstep with those teams, and going to get a big-time running back like Breece Hall will help that happen, 100%. So I hope they go get him because he would make a phenomenal addition to this team, I believe, in a big way. Also, on the Isaiah Pacheco thing, the knee looked bad when it was hit, man. I mean, I know that he got up off the training table. He looked ready to go, but then he's ruled out the next week. That tells me that they think there's probably a little more structural damage to that knee than they originally thought. I think it's a sprained MCL as the official diagnosis, but what it really was a hyperextended knee from the side, which can be an extremely problematic injury. So I guess I bring that up to say this. I don't know that people should be diving at knees the way they are in the NFL now. It looks very deliberate a lot of the time, not just with Isaiah Pacheco. The Chiefs have been doing it as well. So I'm not taking, I think Noah Gray dove at Mad Max's knees, right? And that's a legal block. It's a legal play, just like the dive at Pacheco's knee. That's a legal play. I'm starting to wonder if it should be. There are other ways to tackle people. We have seen through the rugby tackling change that we've seen in the NFL over the last 10 years. You know, you don't have Ed Reed and Brian Dawkins taking people's heads off anymore. That's not the NFL we're in. So you could make the same adjustment when it comes to just diving head first at someone's knee. Maybe that should be something they take out of the game. And I mean that for everybody, not just for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, we got power rankings coming up. The power rankings. And then the Bills, as far as what the Chiefs-Bills preview, what's that going to look like? But where are the Chiefs in the power rankings? We'll get to that in just a few minutes. But first, welcome back Mike Pennel. Big Mike in the building. Chris Jones is so fired up about it, he's dancing to Taylor Swift at his press conference.
Dissy. How y'all doing?
How are you doing?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. Body is getting there, healthy.
You happy that Mike Pennell's back?
I'm super excited, man. That's how the universe works, man. You got to put it out there, put the energy out there, and eventually it comes back full circle.
What's the best part about having him back in the room?
Man, Mike, he brings a veteran presence. Good for the locker room. Great guy. Like one of my brothers. A lot of good things I could say about him. Just bring positive energy. I think that's something, goes underrated in a football locker room. A good high energy guy that keeps everyone fun, happy, but also makes you remember the importance of how old and how gracious this game is.
We talked about Big Mike bringing that energy a lot, especially a few weeks ago when we were talking about who is the dog on the Chiefs defense. We had that discussion after the Jaguars game because the final drive left a lot to be desired when it came to guys showing the dog in them. Well, Mike Pennel has that dog in him. So that's why when the Chiefs went and got Mike Pennel, I was like, this is the most incredible thing I could ever possibly imagine. You're going to get a guy who can really transform this defense from an energy perspective. And I think the Chiefs have a solid energy, but Mike Pennel brings so much intensity, fire, passion for the game. That's what's so important here, is that you have a passion for what you're doing. And Mike Pennel has all the passion in the world for the Kansas City Chiefs. He has all the passion in the world for being an absolute dog on the inside and roughing up the offensive linemen, making them stop him. Not only is he a great run stopper, he got 3 sacks last year. Don't sleep on Big Mike rushing the quarterback. He does more than just plug up the middle. And if you've seen his arms, have you seen Mike Pennel's arms? I think they're the size of my torso. That is one of the biggest men you could imagine inside on your defensive line, and he's going to create problems for every offensive line the Chiefs see. Buffalo Bills, Broncos, Colts, no matter what offensive line you're going against, Mike Pennel creates problems for the offensive line. And that's what's going to make him such a phenomenal player and a great fit for this team. And as Chris Jones said, his energy. Having a guy like that around who brings a certain energy, a certain edge. I have referred to Mike Pennel as this last year. Last year around Christmas, right around the Christmas game. I did a big thing about Mike Pennel and how he is the closest thing on the Chiefs defense to Frank Clark. Remember Frank the Shark Clark? The shark smelling blood in the waters, swimming around. A lot of what Frank Clark brought to the table was energy. He was an energy guy who was all over the place and forcing teams to deal with his attitude and deal with his style. That puts him at such an other level and meaning more to the team than just the numbers of the production. Mike Pennel is in the same category in my mind as a Frank Clark, a guy who's bigger than his production numbers and matters more from his attitude and his energy more than just his play. Despite his play being really good, right? Like Frank Clark's good, Mike Pennel's good, but their ability to influence the energy of the team is incredibly important, and it's something Mike Pennel is going to bring back, I think, in spades.
How y'all doing?
It's a good day when you get Big Mike back, baby. It's a good day. All right, now Josh Simmons, we have an update on him, and then we'll dive a little bit more into that situation as it is a very bizarre one for Josh Simmons. But first, before we get to that, we have to get to the power rankings. Oh, yes, baby. We have a top 5 power rankings as we do every week. I get fired up. We talk about a team. We give them a power ranking spot, and then we see where the top 5 lands this week. Number 5, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They beat the Saints 23-3. Baker Mayfield continues on his path to one of his best seasons of his entire career, and he is absolutely 100% in the MVP conversation, as he should be. Big-time plays by Baker Mayfield all season, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a legitimate contender, even without Mike Evans. Number 4, Philadelphia Eagles. You know what? Frankly, the Eagles should be higher than number 4 on my power rankings because the NFL clearly wants them to win. They get not only the big calls, they get every call. You can false start on the push. You can get the ball stripped away from you, and nobody cares. The NFL just says, no, they stop forward progress. You have Jalen Hurts surfing over these bodies on the offensive line, and we never once see forward progress get called stopped. But then, when they fumble the ball and the New York Giants get it, now magically, as if some sort of Nick Sirianni magic has happened, some Sirianni curse is put on the rest of the NFL, they get a forward progress stoppage. It is absolute garbage. The NFL should apologize to the New York Giants and to football fans as a whole for being such garbage. And the Philadelphia Eagles, until this stops, they are very much a contender because the NFL clearly wants them to be the next villain of the NFL. It's clear. I mean, it's clear. You don't get those kind of calls, man, or lack of calls when it comes to false starts. But whatever. Number 4 is the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 3, coming off a bye week, the Detroit Lions. They are still a dominating football team. I mean, that win for the Kansas City Chiefs looks better and better as the Lions consistently look like one of the more disciplined, strong teams in the entire NFL. In fact, if I had to pick today what the Super Bowl was going to be, I'm going to stick with my Chiefs-Eagles rematch. However, the Lions will be there. At the end, my guess is in the NFC Championship game, it'll be Eagles-Lions. So they'll be there, and they'll have a shot at it. And they are a very good football team. Right now, I have them ranked above the Eagles. So there's a reason for that. Number 2, the Indianapolis Colts, after decimating the lowly Tennessee Titans 38-14, they look for real. Jonathan Taylor is definitely up there in the MVP conversation along with Patrick Mahomes. We'll dive deeper into that coming up here in a little bit. Danny Dimes is playing fantastic. They have a tight end in Tyler Warren that has broken out on the scene in a major way this year, and the Indianapolis Colts are a legitimate threat at 7-1. Wow. Who had that record for them in the first 8 games? They're at number 2. And number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs have a win over DC 28-7, a tale of two halves, where they came out in the first half and it looked like they were thinking about Buffalo in 6 days. We talked about that on the live before the game started. I said, hey, you got to remember, this has trap game written all over it. You have a short week on a road game to Buffalo the very next week. I mean, that's a six days from that game. Buffalo is already thinking about the Chiefs. They're already game planning for the Chiefs, and the Chiefs still are getting ready to play the Commanders. That's a tough situation for Kansas City, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if some of those players and those coaches were looking forward a little bit to Buffalo, and then at halftime, I would love to know what was said at halftime. I'm curious. Because the Chiefs came out and played a completely different game in the second half. They suffocated the Washington Commanders and absolutely dominated the rest of that game. In fact, if they wanted to, they probably could have put up 35 or 42 points. But that's not Andy Reid's style, man. Once he has the win, he takes the foot off the gas pedal and just plays safe. That's his thing. And you know what? He's a GOAT, man. He's the greatest coach of all time. So we got to go, okay, all right. I wanted 42.
2nd and 6. Mahomes, end zone, caught by Kelsey, touchdown.
But Andy said we're going to take the foot off the gas pedal. And that is totally 100% fine. No matter how much I wanted it. Now, honorable mention. Last week we had an honorable mention for the Patriots. We're going to have honorable mention again for the Patriots and for the Bills. This is just a stacked season, man. I don't remember a season where I can make the argument that 14 teams halfway through the year have a legitimate shot at the Super Bowl. I can't remember a year like this. It is probably one of the more fun years I could ever remember because every game matters. Every game's important because everybody's close. And what matters the most? This trade deadline is so crucial for so many teams because everything's so close together for the first time in so long. We have an NFL where you can make a very legitimate argument that 14 teams are legitimate contenders in this league. And that means the trade deadline is of the utmost importance for every franchise in the entire league. You got to go get that extra player because somebody else might. And that's why when we talk about the Chiefs and we talk about Breece Hall and the potential of going to get him at running back, the Jets are sellers. They're going to be looking to trade Breece Hall before November 4th. So if he doesn't go to the Chiefs, where does he go? To the Chargers? They need a running back. Do you want to make the Chargers stronger? That's what's going to be so intense about this trade deadline and all the trades that are made at that time because this season is so close together and all these teams are so clumped in to this giant mess that someone's going to have to fight through to get to the Super Bowl. Yeah, stacked season. Sorry, that was a bit of a... I didn't have that plan to talk about, but it's the truth. This is a team's going to have to fight through this giant pack of teams to try to get to the Super Bowl, and they're all good teams. Like, all these teams we talk about are solid contenders. This is not a top-heavy year. This is a year where there's a lot of parity, and I like it. It makes for a more fun season. Now, we have a crazy Travis Kelce stat that I can't wait to tell you guys about. It is wild where Travis Kelce is done this season at 36 years old. Get to that in a few minutes, but first.
Mahomes out to his right. Back across for the touchdown.
Chiefs fans are the best fans in the world because all we're seeing is support for Josh Simmons in one of the more bizarre situations I've ever seen in my entire life, where your first round pick, who's your starting left tackle, protecting Patrick Mahomes, who is the favorite right now to win the MVP. He has a $14 million guaranteed contract, and suddenly one day he's just gone. And they go, oh, it's a personal issue. Oh, it's a family issue. They've given no information other than that, but Josh Simmons has missed a couple games, and they say he's going to miss a couple of more, and they won't give us any more than that. And you know what? That's fine. Everyone's just being supportive. They say, hey, whatever's going on, we hope it works out for you, and we would love for you to come back as soon as possible, and we hope that things are fine. We wish the best for you, Josh Simmons. That's what people are saying. So with that being the support that Josh Simmons is getting, considering the situation, I never want to hear anybody speak poorly about the Chiefs media or the Chiefs fans, because the media hasn't really grilled the team about this. They've just been like, okay, whatever. But the reality is your first round pick, your left tackle, I mean, he's an incredibly important part of this team, and he just disappeared one day. That's a huge deal. And it's something that we're going to have to probably look at more critically during the offseason. But for right now, we're focused on Jalen Moore. He had a tough first half and some rough moments against the Commanders. But Jalen Moore since then has been a fantastic left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's had one bad half, and it was during a time where the whole team was having a bad half. So I don't think that's just about Jalen Moore. I think he's done a really nice job. In fact, here is Andy Reid talking about Jalen Moore.
Update on how he's settling in and handling all the different guys that he has to see.
Yeah, I thought he just buckled down and really got himself right there. He's a big kid, strong kid. I didn't think he was utilizing that at the best at the beginning, but he found his way to do that and really trust himself against in that situation. So. And I think that's another growing phase for him in this offense. And, we ask him to do a lot of things, and he's got a great attitude about it. So, but I think he could take something out of that.
Jalen Moore's been fantastic. I mean, he really has, aside from one half where he played poorly, but everybody on the Chiefs played poorly. So you can't really hold the one bad half against Jalen Moore. Other than that, he's been very good. Serviceable, strong, good left tackle. He's now played in 3 games as the starter, and he's only had one half where he was off, and the whole team was off. So wonderful to have Jalen Moore on the team. Very happy that Brett Veach went and grabbed him for 2 years, $30 million, because he is definitely living up to the bill of his contract. Absolutely. Now, Patrick Mahomes is in a crazy position for the MVP. We'll tell you how next. But Travis Kelce is demolishing the washed allegations. Forget beating the allegations. He is absolutely putting those washed allegations into an incinerator and pressing the fire button, because Travis Kelce is playing at an unbelievably high level this season, as he is second in receiving yards amongst all tight ends in the NFL at 36 years old. And no one else in the top 5 is older than 28. That tells you how this man has found the fountain of youth, and he's playing at a level that should terrify every defense in the NFL. Because when 87 is going off the way that Travis is going off right now, nobody's safe. Every team's on notice. And what he does to opposing defenses, especially now that the Chiefs have so many other weapons that teams have to respect, so they can't only key on Travis Kelce, we are seeing an absolute juggernaut reborn into the prime of his career at 36 years old. I have never seen anything like what we're watching from Travis Kelce this year at the tight end position, and neither of you. This has not happened. This kind of longevity, this kind of level of play at this age for a tight end, it's unheard of. So Travis Kelce showing once again why he's the GOAT. Tyler Warren is the only tight end, Tyler Warren from the Indianapolis Colts, who are apparently the greatest team of all time. He is the only tight end in the NFL at 23, 24 years old who has more receiving yards than Travis Kelce on this season, which is just hilarious. It's unbelievable. But it's a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, if you've been watching this team, if you've been watching Travis Kelce this year, he is a lot of fun. He is a good time, man. Oh. On this season, Travis Kelce's a beast. I mean, he is. I mean, he's better than he was last season. And part of that is other guys are around. They're helping. Rashee Rice is healthy. Hollywood Brown is healthy. Xavier Worthy has another year under his belt. There's a lot of reasons why Travis Kelce's playing incredibly well. But I think the biggest one is he just got better shape. He feels better. He looks happier. Everything about him is glowing differently than it was last season. And I think he's really enjoying himself. So I think that's the biggest reason why Travis Kelce's playing so well and why he's done so well, is that he is really enjoying himself. And that's awesome. there's a wild stat for a player on the Chiefs defense that might actually shock you a little bit. But the MVP debate, Travis Kelce's going to run away with the MVP. Travis Kelce. I looked at the wrong name. Patrick Mahomes is going to run away with the MVP. Because look at the other candidates. You have Josh Allen, Drake May, and Jonathan Taylor. Now, Jonathan Taylor, if the Colts continue this run and they go something crazy like 15-2, then yes, Jonathan Taylor can win the MVP as a running back, which would be incredibly interesting. But Drake May and the Pats, they're going to come down to earth a little bit as teams start to figure him out. And then Josh Allen, he doesn't have the weapons to stay up with Patrick Mahomes. They have 3 number 2 wide receivers over there in Buffalo. So unless Josh Allen's able to make some big splash trade, the Bills are able to make some big splash trade to get Josh Allen help at wide receiver, I doubt he's going to be able to stay up in that conversation. Drake May, yeah, they have Stephon Diggs who's doing pretty well, but they don't have really anything else. So his ceiling isn't that high considering what he has. And Jonathan Taylor, 1, being a running back, and 2, being on a team that it's hard to kind of figure out if they're going to be that good for that long, you would still put, if you had to bet on the MVP, you would put so much of your money on Patrick Mahomes. He is without question the number 1 contender for the MVP right now. Not just because he's Patrick Mahomes, not just because of the pedigree, but because of what Patrick Mahomes has done on the field this year and what you can project him to do for the rest of the year with a fully healthy wide receiver core, a Travis Kelce that's turned back the clock and beat all the washed allegations, and an offensive game calling for the last month or so that's been off the charts fantastic. So yes, Patrick Mahomes right now is not only the betting favorite for the MVP, but he should be, without question, a runaway train for the MVP. Because do you expect this to stop? In any way, do you expect this to stop? Why? Why would you? Exactly. No, you don't. This is going to continue going forward, and we are going to keep seeing this Chiefs team get better. If anything, they're going to improve. And I still think Matthew Stafford should be in that conversation for MVP. He is the most underrated quarterback. Nobody has him in their MVP. The guy's got 17 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He has thrown 12 touchdowns against 0 interceptions over his last 4 games. That means Matthew Stafford is averaging 3 touchdowns to 0 picks for a month. That guy's got to be in your MVP conversation. I know we take Stafford for granted because he's been around for so long, but that guy deserves to be in every MVP conversation right now. So on Chiefs Chase, Matthew Stafford is in that conversation because he's got the numbers and he's got a pretty solid team out there in Los Angeles. So I'm very intrigued to see what Matthew Stafford does for the rest of this season, and if he could be in that conversation with Patrick Mahomes at the end of the year. I think that'll be really cool. Now, we got the Bills-Chiefs preview coming up and some Halloween fun. I think we're going to have a really good time with this. I'm very excited for the Halloween fun. We're going to get to it. It's just Halloween tags on certain teams. Well, you'll see. You'll see. It's good. But first of all, this Bills-Chiefs preview, the number one thing that you have to do to stop the Buffalo Bills is stop James Cook. I know that Josh Allen's awesome. I know that Josh Allen's an incredible quarterback and that everybody's really excited. I get all that. Josh Allen's insanely good. But James Cook, if he gets running and he gets going fast and he gets big chunk plays, big long touchdowns like he's had all season, he's having a career year. Right now, James Cook is by far the most dynamic player on that Bills offense. So with a career year for James Cook, if you don't stop him, you don't stand a chance. So the Chiefs defense has to be hyper-focused on this guy. They have to be hyper-focused on stopping James Cook. Now, here's the good news. The Chiefs are great at stopping amazing running backs. Why don't you ask the Detroit Lions and Jahmyr Gibbs, who got absolutely shut down? Or why don't you ask Derrick Henry, who gets shut down by Spags every single time, including in the AFC Championship game back when he was with the Tennessee Titans. So I have all the confidence in the world that the Chiefs will be able to shut down James Cook and make the Bills a one-dimensional team that has to throw to beat the Chiefs. And considering the Bills have no number 1 wide receiver, they just have 3 number 2s, that bodes very well for the Kansas City Chiefs and their chance to go into Buffalo and take care of business against the Bills. Because with Spags defensive coordinating, We see what he does with these guys. A big key for the defense when it comes to stopping James Cook is the same guy who was a big key for the Chiefs' defense against the Lions, and that is Leo Chenal. We love Leo Chenal on this show. I think he's an extremely underrated player. He's getting more snaps, and against the run, he is the best linebacker the Chiefs have. Even better than Nick Bolton. But Bolton's so good at going sideline to sideline, being in coverage, and he's also great against the run. He's also really good at blitzing. So Bolton's a better linebacker, but if you're talking about just stopping the run, Leo Chenal's the best player on that linebacking core, and that is a guy that will be extremely important as the Chiefs play the Bills this Sunday.
Blitzing. He's picked up. Here comes another one. Bolton coming after him, and the pass is intercepted.
And then we'll get to the Bills' defense here in a second, but I actually skipped something. I skipped what I teased when I said that there's a wild stat for the player on the Chiefs' defense. It's that Trent McDuffie is the number 2 top shutdown corner in the NFL, only behind Patrick Surtain II for the Denver Broncos. And I got to tell you, the reason why we don't hear a lot about Trent McDuffie this year is because Trent McDuffie's shutting guys down. Why even throw to him? We've seen teams just flat out stay away from Trent McDuffie because he's that good. He is a top flight all-pro player, and this is a guy that coming out of Washington had a lot of hype. And not only has Trent McDuffie lived up to that hype in every possible way, Trent McDuffie has exceeded the hype that he had coming out of Washington, which is unbelievably impressive because he had a lot of hype. So for him to beat that hype, be even better, that's incredibly impressive for Trent McDuffie, and a guy that, frankly, we don't talk about enough just because we know who he is. Like, we know Trent McDuffie's a shutdown corner, but we still got to point it out. Trent McDuffie, the second highest rated shutdown corner in the NFL, only behind Patrick Surtain II. And no matter who they put him on, which I think it might be Shakur who they put him on, we'll get deeper into these. Well, they're wide receivers. They have Khalil Shakur, Keon Coleman, Joshua Palmer. You might remember Palmer from the Chargers because he was with them for years. Shakur right now, Khalil Shakur looks like their best player. I know Keon Coleman normally is the guy people would point to as their best wideout, but this season, Shakur's been better. So I think Khalil Shakur versus Trent McDuffie will likely be the matchup that we see this weekend. And I think, based on everything we've seen this season, Trent McDuffie's going to handle Shakur no problem. And the defense for Buffalo isn't that great. Taylor Rapp's on the IR. And that's a big problem for their secondary. And Tre'Davious White, their best corner, having a down year. So this defense is very exposable for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, especially when you consider the Chiefs' weapons against the secondary of the Bills. Taylor Rapp is on IR. Tre'Davious White is having a down year. And the Chiefs have a healthy Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce. The list goes on and on. Brashard Smith, who they sometimes line up at that H-back or even at the wide receiver position. They have so many dynamic weapons on this Chiefs offense that it's going to be incredibly hard for any team to try to shut them down, but especially the Buffalo Bills, who are banged up on the defensive back end and have guys not playing that well all throughout their secondary. So the Chiefs should have a significant advantage in this game when it comes to the ability to put up points. I think the Chiefs can score in bunches, and I think the Chiefs' defense is good enough to at least limit the Bills. We'll get the full prediction, the actual score prediction, coming at the end of the show. But Patrick Mahomes, here he is via Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City at his press conference talking about the short week.
You're having to see that on there?
No, not really. I mean, I think everyone deals with it. I mean, obviously, we're going up against a great football team. But, I mean, you kind of, that's part of playing in the NFL is you have to be able to be ready for sudden changes like that. Or, I mean, that could happen to you in the playoffs. So what another opportunity to be on a short week against a great football team and see how your team responds. And so it's stuff that you can learn from and build from. And so I'm just excited to get to go up again and play in a big game in a great environment.
That's a very gracious answer from Patrick. And thank you to Sports Radio 810 WHB for that audio and that video. Here's the thing. Short weeks are tough. They just are. But I think they're tougher for the game before if it's structured like this. I feel like the Commanders game was going to be tougher psychologically for them because they had the Bills in 6 days, and the Bills were already preparing for the Chiefs. Think about that. All Monday, you're sitting there, you're getting ready to play the Commanders, a team that you know you should beat, but you know that Buffalo's already preparing for you. So you're losing at that time. You're losing that time that Buffalo has. And that's a thing that struggled, I think, for the Kansas City Chiefs in the first half. They struggled against the Commanders because they were so busy looking forward to that Bills game. So that is a big deal for me when it comes to this game coming up. It's like I don't worry about the short week as much. I was more worried about the Commanders. And in the first half, those worries came to fruition. But the Chiefs figured it out in the second half, and now they have the game that they really wanted, which is in Buffalo this Sunday. Now we have some Halloween fun, and then we'll lead into a prediction for the Kansas City Chiefs in their game against the Buffalo Bills. First one, the spookiest team in the NFL is the Indianapolis Colts. We keep waiting for them to come back down to earth, to fall off their witch's broomstick and go on some losing streak to turn into the Indianapolis Colts that we thought they were going to be before the season. But it just hasn't happened. They look unstoppable every single week. I'm pretty sure if you look in the mirror and you say Indiana Jones 3 times, Danny Dimes comes from out of nowhere and scores another touchdown on you. So as long as Danny is playing at the accuracy level that he currently is for the Colts, and you have Jonathan Taylor playing at an MVP level for a running back, which is insane, even better than Saquon Barkley was last year for the Eagles. If that continues for the Colts, they are by far the spookiest team in the NFL because they don't make any sense to us, but they just keep winning. That's your first Halloween treat. Second one is the scariest monster in the NFL is Patrick Mahomes, because no matter what happens every single year, he is always right there, winning games, putting up numbers, and he can beat you in every which way. He can throw accurately short, he can throw the bomb, he can run with his legs, he can use his cerebral cortex, making you think that he's trying to get you to jump off sides on a 4th and 1, but then he just turns around and hands the ball to Kareem Hunt for a first down. That is how dynamic and scary of a monster Patrick Mahomes has become in 2025. So while you're filling your treat bags during Halloween, going around trick-or-treating, remember, you shouldn't be afraid of Freddy or Jason or Michael Myers. You should be afraid of Patrick Mahomes coming to your town to shred your defense. And we're talking about you, Buffalo. Mahomes is coming with the ghost face mask on, ready to take everybody out. That's the scariest monster in the NFL, hands down. And now, the most surprising treat in the NFL has been Drake May. He is like what Reese's Peanut Butter Cups were for me when I was a kid. I saw the commercials for Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and I was like, I don't know, man. Looks fine. I don't know. They have a lot of orange. Then I had a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, and my life was forever changed, just like every other person. And that's what Drake May is for the NFL, a surprising treat. And frankly, this isn't fair. New England shouldn't be allowed to have a franchise quarterback just 7 years after Tom Brady leaves. No, they should be forced to be just like the Dallas Cowboys, where they think they're going to be good every single year, and then they just get their hope stripped away from them and thrown into the trash. That's what they deserve after a 16-year dynasty. But no, life isn't fair. So instead of being like the Cowboys, talking about the good old days and being overly optimistic about your team, the New England Patriots got the coach and the quarterback already figured out. The most surprising treat of the NFL season, Drake May and the New England Patriots. Unbelievably unfair. Unbelievably. It really bothers me, but here we are. All right, Chiefs-Bills prediction. We have the Chiefs winning 38-24. I think James Cook gets shut down for the first time all season, and the Chiefs play lights out on offense as the Bills secondary cannot handle the combination of all the stars on the Chiefs wide receiver core. Because, as Travis Kelce said, just when you're trying to stop Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, Juju Smith-Schuster, Smith-Schuster's running downfield all alone because you have no one who can cover him. That's the beauty of the Kansas City Chiefs offense this year, and they're going to take that offense to Buffalo and do exactly what we expect them to do, which is take that leaky defense of the Buffalo Bills and expose it to the world. 38-24, Kansas City Chiefs win. This has been Chiefs Chase. Thank you so much for joining me on this show. I've had such a blast with you guys. I've had such a good time, and I always do. So please join me for the lives. We'll be live for the noon games for Denver and LA. So Chargers and Broncos both play noon games. We'll be live for those games, and of course, we will be live for Chiefs and Bills. So join me for that on TikTok. Also, if you want to check out the socials, we're doing videos every day, so check out the socials. It's going to be a lot of fun. But if you just like the long-form show, which is awesome, I will see you on Sunday right after the Chiefs beat the Bills. This has been Chiefs Chase. Thank you so much again for just letting me be part of your week, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of your week. I'll see you after the game.